How are you doing tonight, Tristan?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good, man. Good. Welcome to the show. Good to have you
Thank
on.
you. Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
So, I guess the easiest thing to do, and maybe most complicated too, sometimes is we follow recruiting course. We're doing the show, so we're following some recruiting and stuff. And there's been a bit of a dead period. You did, obviously commit, but tell everyone about a little bit about yourself. Like where you're from and all that good stuff.
For sure. So I was born and raised in Ventura, California. My dad was born and raised here too. So we have a long history of, living here. Lived in the same house my whole entire life. Been very fortunate to live in a great area. Played sports all growing up. Played soccer when I was little, baseball, basketball, and I didn't start playing football until eighth grade. A lot of
Oh,
people think
wow.
a lot of people think I played football since I was a little like kindergarten, but I started playing football in eighth grade. My dad was big on starting me in middle school once I started to develop and hit puberty and things like that. Because when I was younger, I was kind of just a bigger, stockier kid. They probably would have made me play offensive line and things like that. And as you can see today, I'm clearly not an offensive lineman. So I appreciate my dad for letting me mature and develop before letting me play football. I feel like it helped my path big time and kind of help figure things out. So I've played soccer until about sixth grade, played baseball until seventh grade, played basketball until sophomore year of high school, and now I'm just strictly playing football and getting after it. So that's kind of a little bit of a background on growing up and just kind of like the sports I've been around.
Nice.
That was a good background because that was going to be my question. One of my questions about that was like, do you do other sports currently? But it sounds like you're just football oriented.
Yeah, for sure. So this year, kind of with just how things have gone with football the last 3 years of me playing, and the status I've gotten as a football recruit and the ability to get the opportunity to play at the next level. Talked with my family and decided, and my trainer, and decided it was best just to focus on football, train for football, get bigger, faster, stronger while keeping myself healthy. Because that's the biggest thing at the end of the day is keeping your body healthy. Because if you're not healthy and able to produce on the field, you're not doing yourself any good and you're not doing your team any good. So just want to stay away from any possibility of digging myself up in another sport that I was probably just gonna be playing for fun and not have an opportunity like I do in football. So I'm kind of glad we made that decision, and it's been a great off season train for senior season. So
That's a good decision. I mean, that we don't want to say it's a business decision, but in the sense of these days with football, it kind of is. With sports and going to collegiate athletics with NIL and stuff, it is. We're not getting into the NIL stuff, but it is kind of a business decision in a way.
100.
So, and I agree with you 100% because when I was in middle school, uh, I ran fast as hell. I couldn't catch the ball, so I couldn't be a receiver. But I wasn't big enough to be D line, and I wasn't quite reactionary enough to be a linebacker. So I kind of was like nowhere perfect on the field. It was great. It was great. It was like just out of place at all positions.
Hey man, sometimes that's just how it is. Sometimes there's things you just can't do anything about. So
So before we get into the whole Twitter thing, though, where that was going to lead, it was just kind of my line of notes. That's why I kind of said it. So why, when you were offered, did you end up choosing Oregon overall? Because you had a bunch of different offers. You had, I believe it was Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Arizona State, Utah, even, which is a known for linebackers, and Washington, of course. But why,
right.
why, why, why Oregon?
So I would say the biggest thing with Oregon is like the development up there is true. I feel like there are some schools out there that use the word development as almost a recruiting strategy and don't really have the true development, but they have the true development up there at Oregon. So if you look at Coach Lanning's career since he's gotten at Oregon, he's gotten the team better every year. His record's been better every year. He's gotten more guys drafted every year, and he's finally starting to be able to put together high school recruiting classes and start developing them. Because when he first got there, obviously he had to dig in the portal for a little bit just to kind of get those instant needs and have some sort of stability in his team. And so I would say not only Coach Lanning, but just the whole coaching staff. I feel like they're a very stable coaching staff, and that really stands out to me. And I want to go somewhere where I'm going to get developed and compete against the best of the best to get a shot at not only dominating and playing on a college football field, but getting to the next level. So that was the biggest thing for me. Is like I feel like I couldn't find resources for success better at any place other than Oregon, and their coaching staff I feel like is very stable, and I feel as if a lot of coaches aren't going to leave; they're going to want to stay there, and just the overall development process I really trust there.
Well, I'm not going to complain about that. One of the big things this year coming up for 2025, then 2026, of course, will be this is kind of the full turnover. Like this is the Dan Lanning team.
Oh,
like you said
100%.
before, he was dealing with not dealing with, but he had to incorporate all the former players from that wanted to stay on board with him and kind of figure out the schemes of how to work in every player at their best abilities.
No, for sure, because Coach Lanning is a great guy, and he's a very competitive guy. So he's always going to want to be able to compete at the highest level and win games, and every coach should. And I think the way Coach Lanning looks at things and operate things is very special. And just the culture that he's built over there is something unmatched. And I've gone to lots of the schools, whether it's spring practice or just going out on an unofficial or even a game day visit, and the attention to detail over at Oregon really stood out to me and also my family. Even my family, who has been around football their whole life and understands a lot, they even notice the little things like that. Like, wow, the attention to detail and everything they do is crazy. So, it's just I really trust and believe what Coach Lanning is building and doing over there, and I think he's doing it the right way.
Spaz, you got something?
No, I'm just kind of following the chat and listening and scrolling through stuff. Kind of.
He's just spacing out over there, Spaz.
Yeah,
I'm
La La
shocked.
Land
I'm
today.
shocked that you are just like spacing out. So
I'm just kind of checking out his stuff a little more, and I love some of the pictures and some of the upside down UWs and.
That's it. We haven't even gotten to the Twitter stuff because I mean this is what made you famous. But you were talking Dan Lanning, but besides Dan Lanning, because of course he's the man, he's the figurehead, he's the head coach. What did Tosh, obviously the boy, and of course Brian play in this type of circumstance? Because of course Brian is a huge figure. He's the linebackers coach basically.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, I'm giving a lot of props to Coach Lanning right now because he's the head man. But Coach B. Mike does not get enough props for how good of a coach he is. I mean, a year ago around this time, he started recruiting me hard, and that was the first coach I ever got to speak to with the University of Oregon. And then at the start of the season, after my first game, he saw my film and even my sophomore year film. He knew I was an instant offer guy, but he knew how special this offer was to me, and he wanted to make sure that it was done at the right time, that I could pull the trigger whenever I wanted to. So he's an amazing coach, and like he said in an interview about a week or two ago, he really believes in developing guys because he could have taken maybe another veteran linebacker in the portal this year, considering obviously you got Bryce and Devin Jackson coming back, but got some guys dinged up, and he could easily gotten another veteran guy, but he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I really believe in developing guys, and he's shown development. If you look at Jeff Bossa, linebacker who got drafted to the Chiefs, he came into Oregon as a safety. Mm-hmm. And I want to say his last 2 to 3 years of being at Oregon is Coach B. Mike, when he got there, I think he coached him his last 2 or 3 years. And so he took him from a safety and made him a draft pick in the NFL. You look at Bryce Betcher. He came in as a safety. He came in as a walk-on, first off, a walk-on safety. They put him at linebacker position, and now he's one of, if not the best linebacker in college football. So I really look at the details like that to make sure I'm going to be putting myself in the best position to get developed and get better every day to get ready for the next level and just be a dominant player at the college level.
Right on.
I think that's true. Bossa was, I mean, for Oregon fans, a very special talent, but very underrated in many ways.
So for sure,
very underrated. And yeah, Betcher, of course. I mean, he's just talented. I mean, he's already been drafted in the
and then he's
the
a
league.
baller in
So
baseball too. That's the
yeah, I was like, he's already been drafted in baseball. So I mean, and that's probably where his career is going to go. But this year, he gets to really focus on just being a linebacker, which is different. So that's going to be really nice to see.
For sure.
All right, Spaz. All right, Spaz.
Yeah.
Well, we'll not bore you anymore with actual football talk. Now we can get into we can get into like the trolling and the shit talking, because Tristan, you have made yourself a name on Twitter, which if people pay attention to college football and recruiting especially, will know your name, but you have now exploded among the Oregon fan base because you have decided to take on the arch rival Washington Huskies on Twitter.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I wouldn't say that's what made me famous. I would say, you know, I don't even say I'm famous. Just kind of what put my name out there is, you know, the things I did on a football field, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day. My biggest thing is the main thing is the main thing. You know, don't get drawn away by all this other, you know, stuff going on outside. So, you know, I would say the whole thing with, you know, having some fun with the rivalry and talking some smack just kind of was like, I knew it was going to be a great way to tap in with Oregon fans, because I feel like that goes a long way, you know, with Oregon fans when there's a recruit or a player that's kind of tapping in with them and having some fun with them and kind of, you know, being engaged with the fans. I feel like that really goes a long way. And, you know, at first I didn't really mean for the whole thing to, you know, blow up. Like I was telling Spence last week, it was kind of just like, I'll have a little bit of fun with this, you know, talk a little bit of smack. And then all of a sudden it just, you know, started going through the roof. And so I'm like, you know what, this whole week I'm just going to have a little bit of fun with the rivalry, post some funny pictures, tap in with Oregon fans. Because if you look at it, once I made the post just to kind of have some fun, I didn't even look at any of the negative comments and all the Washington fans coming in all mad. I was just looking for the positive Oregon fans, you know, having some fun with it, tapping in with them. So that was kind of the whole thing behind that. Obviously, it was like I would say it's about a week bender, and then I kind of let it just die off, had some fun with it, but I'm not going to make that my whole personality, because there's a much bigger picture than that. I'm focused on the main thing, and that's, you know, producing not only my last year of high school and being a baller on the field my senior year, but coming into college, I want to really, you know, be a dude on a college football field. I have my sights much bigger than just being a dominant high school football player. So
That's good, man.
Well, Washington fans are probably just upset because you were in their final list, and then you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think honestly the funniest thing about it to me was just like, we got grown ass men that were getting super butthurt over a high school recruit having some fun with them. Like,
yeah,
there's no way you, like, seriously, like, they couldn't, like, I thought after like 2 or 3 posts they would pick up on, oh, this kid's just being, you know, funny, messing around, just trying to get us mad. But no, they were just not seeing through it at all and getting rage baited by a 17-year-old kid while I'm sitting here looking at everything, just laughing, having some fun with it. And so that was honestly the funnest thing to me. And even like a few people were saying that, they were like, you guys are getting rage baited by a 17-year-old kid. It's kind of sad.
right.
Which in all fairness, like the Locked On guys, Roman and oh crap, his name. I can't. We just did like a 2-hour show with him last year. I can't remember his name, but Roman of Locked On Huskies. He's pretty cool. So don't worry about the Locked On guys. But if you want to get absolutely trolled you got to get involved with the USC rivalry.
Oh,
Oh, you
100%.
will
I even
trigger them.
there was even some USC fans tapping into it, and I thought that was the funniest part. And I'm sure it means a little bit. I honestly think it means a little bit more to the USC fans just because I'm a California kid. But I'm excited for that game this year. Obviously, it's a very big game that a lot of people will have, circled on their schedule. I'm actually going to be up at that game because it's up at Oregon, so I'll be there. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great game. The Ducks are going to come out on top, of course, but I'm looking forward to. Oh, drop my phone. I'm looking forward to watching them compete with them. It'll be a good game.
Yeah. It's fun trolling the USC fans. It's so
Oh yeah,
fun.
we have a good old time.